I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Silly Jedi! Silly Jedi!
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
My whole feeling with Toys R Us is that, you know, Toys R Us got so big that they almost became a little greedy, like, because they were so big and there were so many Toys R Us's, it was hard to sustain. Whereas I think, you know, when Toys R Us first popped on the scene and became massive, especially like in the 80s, early 80s, you know, it was the fact that nowhere else could you, I mean, other stores and department stores had toy sections like we do now. Like we have Target and Walmart and even like Burlington Coat Factory and TJ Maxx. All these stores have toy sections, but this was a store dedicated to toys, where it's like, if you wanted to get a specific toy that other toy stores or other toy sections of stores wouldn't necessarily have, like Toys R Us would have it. Like you would go to a G.I. Joe aisle and there would be like a massive amount of G.I. Joes. Like literally every G.I. Joe would be on pegs on the wall. Sorry, there's a school bus in front of me. That's why my face is all red. Transformers, you would see all the Transformers. He-Man, you would see all the He-Man. Barbie, all the Barbies. And it kind of still had that during the latter years, but it was also, because there were so many stores, I felt like they suffered in kind of like restocking certain things. And then because of that, also like certain toy companies, you know, it was like the perfect storm of failure. You know, it was, Toys R Us was too big to sustain itself. Toy companies were starting to become afraid of mass producing product, like case in point, Star Wars toys, you know, where they only release like a handful of figures and only like a third of those end up in stores, and then the rest are like Walgreens exclusive and Target exclusive, and you know, and then some don't even come out at all. You got to pre-order them and find them online. And so I think the toy companies also, and they will turn around and point fingers at us, the consumer, saying, well, kids don't buy toys anymore, kids don't. You know what, if you put out a cool toy line and the marketing for it is great, and you know, hey, what sold us on toys back in the day was the fact that, oh man, this light is killing me, was the fact that cartoons were almost like toy commercials. But you know, if you have that formula now, it is gonna work. There was a toy line that my boys were very much into when they were younger, and it was a Disney show called Miles from Tomorrowland. And the toy line for that show was awesome. They had figures of all the characters. They had spaceships, large spaceships, small spaceships. All the spaceships kind of interacted with each other. You can create like a space station with it. It was great. All of a sudden, they just stopped making them. And the show was still running, but no toys were coming out. And now the show is kind of different. Like they changed what the show is really about. And there's no toys for it anymore. So like, that's the problem. You know, you put out a great program, you put out a great toy line, but then you just cut it short, and it's because of fear that nobody's gonna buy them. But you know what, there are if you had less ginormous stores to have to fill, then you could make more toys and fill those stores. And I think that's the problem. It was, you know, Toys R Us got greedy, and also they didn't really change with the times. I think, and I'll end it here, I think Toys R Us would have been way more successful if they had less stores, and if those stores, because they're huge, most Toys R Us stores were humongous. They were like giant warehouse size stores. You know, I always thought, you know, what if what if you go to the Toys R Us and it was not just a toy store, but it was like a place where had a play space where kids could play, had party rooms where you could throw birthday parties in, had a cafe, so like, you know, parents that are maybe home during the day with their kids or during like winter breaks and summer breaks and stuff like that could actually like say, yeah, we'll go to Toys R Us and you guys could look at some toys, you guys can play, and I'll hang out with some of the other parents while we're there, because there's, you know, there's a cafe, there's somewhere to sit, you know. I don't know, like I just thought, like, to me that's like a no-brainer. I used to go to, as a teenager, I used to go to teenager and my 20s, when like Star Wars toys came back, I used to go to Toys R Us every weekend. Every Sunday afternoon, my brother and I would take a ride to Toys R Us and just walk around, look at Star Wars stuff, look at video games, and just walk around. And even if nothing changed, you know, we would still walk around. So, great. Yeah, did we buy something every single weekend? No, but we were there. So if you get people there, there's more of a chance that they'll buy something, especially if you get parents to go constantly to like let their kids play, especially in places where maybe the weather's too cold to go outside and play. You know, you can go to this really cool toy store that has an amazing play area for kids to play in, and maybe like a little cafe and whatnot. It creates an environment that's conducive to have repeat loyal customers. Like, yeah, you can buy stuff on Amazon real cheap, but you know what? Most parents now are just talking about experience. It's experience that they want. They're paying for experience. So yeah, I can buy a toy on Amazon for $3 cheaper, or I can go to Toys R Us and have my kid have a great time, and then he walks out of there with the toy that he wanted. It's a no-brainer to me. So that's basically my 2 cents on how I think Toys R Us should have gone, and how you can still probably save Toys R Us. You know, I mean, if this kind of new model starts to work out and they want to open up more stores, yeah, you know what? You can keep them in malls and then grow them from there. I mean, obviously it'll help malls because malls are kind of like a dying breed these days. But what do you think? What's your idea? What do you think would be the best way to save Toys R Us at this point? Let's start a conversation in the comments below. And also, what is your best like Toys R Us memory growing up? I mean, mine was basically in my teens and 20s going to Toys R Us every weekend with my younger brother and checking stuff out, but also just as a kid going and just seeing like everything, you know, like I love G.I. Joe, and I would go and just all the G.I. Joe was there, or all He-Man, Masters of the Universe was there, you know. So what is your favorite memory? I'd love to find out. Make sure you like and subscribe, and thanks for watching this quick video on how I think Toys R Us should have gone and how it could still be saved. Hope you enjoyed it. May the Force be with you.